give me a real world example. And if that means you have to sit there for 60 seconds or 2 minutes to think of something, I'd rather you do that than either make something up or tell me what you think I want to hear.
Sales, marketing, automotive. Jason Harris has done it all. This is the After Hours with Jason podcast. After Hours with Jason podcast is sponsored by DDS Beer Club. Beer specifically crafted for hardworking sales professionals. Find out more at ddsbeerclub.ca.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Jason Harris here with Digital Dealership Solutions. Hey, thanks for joining me on another episode of Strategy with Jason. Today I have my guest, Adam Biesenthal, with the Drive Auto Group. Adam, thank you so much for taking the time. And
my pleasure.
Today. So, Adam, for the people out there that don't know who you are, would you mind just giving them a couple minutes of how you got started in the industry?
So I actually grew up in an automotive family. My mom had worked in leasing, and then accounting, and my dad and my stepdad were both either on the technician side and on the accounting side of the business. So I spent my youth working in dealerships, everything from working the lot to the service drive to clean up to parts to office admin work. So I spent a lot of my formative teenage years learning sort of the ins and outs of dealership life. And then after school, I ended up going into the professional world and started my first career job at Deloitte and Touche in Toronto. And I was there for about 9 years, and the opportunity came for me to move on and find a new career path and direction. So I came back to the automotive world. And I've been with Drive Auto Group now for 5 years. And I think the interesting perspective that I bring is that, I started out learning automotive and learning sort of the foundations of, what a dealership looks like, how it runs. And then I spent 9 years in corporate. And corporate and automotive are just like night and day.
They totally
are.
100%.
I always see things through a slightly different filter than most people do, and I find that actually kind of really serves me well.
Sure.
And it's really refreshing, especially 5 years here at Drive Auto Group. I started out, it was myself, our CFO, and our dealer principal, and that was it on the group level.
And I think what's important is that this was a new position. Like, this didn't exist at the group before.
It did not exist at that time, and I had a great mentor who very quickly moved on back into the store level, so we've grown from 5 stores when I started, and the 5th acquisition actually had just happened prior to my starting with the Drive Auto Group, and we're now 9 dealerships. 10 if you count Genesis, but anyway, we have 9 different dealerships from Whitby to Markham, and we now have close to 40 people on the corporate team here at Drive Auto Group, with everybody helping out from an operational perspective, marketing, CRM, used car management, human resources, marketing, to a full-fledged wholesale parts division, and now a full business development team, both on sales and service. So
which is where we're at right now, right?
Which is
this
exactly
your brand new office,
brand new corporate location.
You guys have been here now for only
6-7 months.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a huge move for us. Actually taking all of our Drive employees out of the dealership and bringing them into one corporate office. So it's a beautiful facility, and it's just been very refreshing for us to really be able to be here and focus. And when we were designing the floor, we knew that one of the really the successes of the future of our company depended on how well our people operated.
Sure.
And we realized that we could really make a big change by making sure our people were fully trained.
Yep.
So there's a very large corporate training center here, takes up almost a third of the floor, and we regularly have training that runs every single week for our salespeople, our service advisors, our managers, our receptionists. We want everybody to know the absolute best way that they can do their job so they can do the best job that they possibly can.
And building a space for them all to come together in an environment that's outside of the dealership, I think, is really, really key,
it's
right?
huge, right?
So you're away from all those distractions.
Yeah, because we know how it is, right?
Oh,
paging,
gosh,
paging, right? So,
hey, can you take a look at this deal for me real quick? Or, hey, this customer needs to come see you. No, I love what you guys have done with this office, and your BDC is just humming. It's just purring over there. I love just every time I hear it, I'll just go sit in there for a few minutes and just listen because it's so much fun to do. And your guys' commitment to developing out your staff and training, I gotta applaud you for that.
Thank you.
You know, it's one thing that I would love to see more dealerships really embrace. In fact, I just recently had a conversation with a dealership where they wanted to spend more money on their marketing dollars when that's great and all, but in reality, the money would have better been served if they actually spent in developing out their salespeople and training them,
absolutely,
coaching
right?
them, right?
Absolutely, and as as somebody who started out, exclusively in the marketing side of the business for the group and for the stores, my heart's with marketing. It really is.
Of course.
And I hate to see either a reduction or a canceling of what I consider to be essential services. But I was on the road actually attending a seminar in Philadelphia about 2.5 years ago, and myself and our VP of operations had sort of an epiphany moment where we realized that we're getting enough leads.
Yeah.
We really are. Like our focus just has to now be on converting on those leads better. And
That's awesome.
Once the customer gets into the dealership, make sure that we're actually delivering the experience that they deserve.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a big moment for us, is that we tend to just throw money at problems to try and solve it, but in reality we need to make sure that our people know the best way to do their job. And I think that's why, again, it's going to come down to training. I think that's going to really
100%.
make or break the future of this company.
That's cool, and you guys have made a big commitment in doing and
Absolutely.
getting that started.
Absolutely.
And doing that.
And I mean,
right?
don't get me wrong, the business development team, that started out in a former closet and in a former storage room that we slapped some drywall up. We quickly outgrew that space, so that was a big motivating factor for us to start looking at our own office site. But we quickly realized that we can utilize this space for more than just business development.
Yeah.
So we have everyone from our corporate team that resides here primarily, and then again, it's that training facility that is, I want to say, sort of one of the crown jewels of our company.
No, I think that's cool. One of the things I'm always kind of interested with groups, because I talk to a lot of groups, is where or what is the responsibility of the group versus what's the responsibility of the dealership. And I want to start at the marketing space and then kind of move on to the operations and development portion.
Absolutely.
But in that marketing space, what is your guys' kind of, I guess, theology on this? Is what's the dealership's responsibility versus what's your guys' responsibility? What's your take on that?
I think one of the benefits of having a centralized department, and you probably say this for almost any one of the departments here, but in marketing specifically, what it allows us to do is to really control the message and ensure that there's a level of quality and a level of consistency that you don't always necessarily get when you have it in the store. And with all due respect to the dealerships and their managers who operate their marketing departments internally in a dealership, it's often not their strong suit or their primary focus.
It's one of many hats they have to wear. Right?
Exactly. We all know that. Like even in a marketing department, we wear many hats, right? We'll help out with everything from events to the print work to which again marketing, but not the primary focus, but it's the primary focus. It is the primary focus for my marketing department, is that. And it's ensuring that there's a consistent message, there's a high quality of work that's output, and I think that's the real kind of benefit. And what it allows our dealerships to do, our managers, our salespeople, is to focus on what's most important, which is the customer that's in front of them.
Yep.
Or getting the customer on the phone, or responding to a customer inquiry, or doing follow-up. The customer that's there in front of them, that's the most important thing. That's what they have to focus on.
Let them be the master of what they need to be mastering,
Absolutely.
right? Not the jack of all trades, a little focus on that. Yeah. I've had the opportunity to work with you guys, I guess, for a little over a year. I guess it's
yeah.
longer.
Time flies, right? Yeah,
Right?
might almost be 2 at this point.
Yeah, that's true. It's cool watching how your marketing department has kind of evolved and changed. I mean, I think very early on it was a lot about what vehicles were we going to market and how we were going to advertise those. And it was great. Like I walked in this morning and it was talking about how they were going to write out the story of the Honda dealership's dog. The Honda dealership has
Scout.
a dog.
Yeah.
Scout. And Scout has its own him.
It's a her. Yeah, it's a her.
Has her own Instagram account as well.
Yeah,
so
she does.
It's cool. It's cool now when I come in and have these meetings with you guys, is that it's more about the stories that you're trying to find within the dealerships, not necessarily about those vehicles. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you've seen that shift change over the last couple of years?
No, absolutely. I think, again, that speaks to when you start to bring in more marketing experts, is that you start to get focused on really kind of what you should be focused on. And it's funny with Scout. I mean, she's a puppy, man. Like if she's
so cute.
If she's 10 weeks, she's not by more than a day. And I mean, talk about training. She already knows 3 or 4 different tricks, right? Like I really dropped the ball with my dog because I think he knows 3 and he's like 6 years old. But that's just how important it is. And with our marketing team, we quickly realized that we can't do what everyone else does.
Yeah.
And you know what? For some dealerships, that's all you can do. That's all the time you have in the day is to just get out the manufacturer's program, is to just make people aware of it. And if that's all that you have the time or the budget to do, then that's fantastic. But what we can do here on the group level is we can start going beyond that.
Yeah.
Is providing some additional value from, more than just a store level, but more of almost like a brand level, if you will.
Well, you get to tell those stories.
Exactly.
Right? I mean,
exactly.
The vehicle story is well told, and now you have the opportunity to find out what your guys' group story is, which we've been working on.
We have,
man,
I don't know.
I don't know if we can talk about that.
I don't know. Yeah.
But then also finding those stories within the dealerships, like Scout.
Yeah.
Or some of the other funny characters you kind of have within your group.
We do, right? And I mean, just kind of roll back the clock again. About 2.5 years ago, it was me.
Yeah.
It was me. That was the marketing department for Drive Auto Group, and at that point we were 7 dealerships, so not too far away from 9 right now, and. I had numerous conversations back and forth with our dealer principal, and I'm like, we need to grow the team. It just has to happen, and it was long overdue. So got approval to add another body to the team. Everyone knows hiring can be fun, so that was a long process. And again, coming from corporate, I was very familiar with my time at Deloitte about how you screen for an employee, how you get them in, how you interview, what you're looking for when you interview. I think that's a whole there's a whole other podcast right there is talking about
literally just how
hiring in automotive.
In fact, we could, if you want to go that direction.
Yeah, I don't know, right?
There's some interesting. And I think you guys are beginning to see it as well.
We are, right? Like just around the corner there sits our human resources manager for Drive Auto Group, who again we're looking to drive efficiencies and standardize processes in human resources. So I brought on my first marketing specialist to the team, and within a year and a half, we had to add a second. Yeah. And we've also since then added a what we call social media specialist, who their job is to literally go from store to store and capture video,
those moments,
capture those moments, and tell the stories. And there's my long-winded roundabout way to get to Alexandra, who's been just an amazing addition to our team. And we spent the entire day yesterday at the Toronto Auto Show shooting video, telling stories, and just again looking to provide some value to the stores on a group level. Like none of the dealerships individually were doing that. No. And unfortunately, due to a lack of foresight on my part, I approved Alex to go away on vacation right at the beginning of the auto show, because I think that we should have been there on day one. Yeah. Because that's another area that we're time management. There's a whole other ballpark
we need
discussion,
to get
right?
Pass next time.
We're going to be there Thursday.
That's when you want to do it.
Exactly. We're going to be there Thursday, and we'll be exhausted for VIP night, and but yeah, no, that's what's going to happen. So that we'll have content ready to go. Yeah. When the auto show kicks off on Saturday, and not
and continue to follow after that. So really, kind of the next couple of weeks after the auto show, where people are really kind of interested.
Absolutely,
in that.
Right. Everybody.
But I think that's what's really cool about what you guys are doing at that group level is that you're searching for, you're seeking out, and you guys are starting to tell those stories. And,
Yeah.
and this is still relatively new for you.
Absolutely.
This young lady has only been with you guys, I think, now for
6 months.
Yeah.
But again, the beautiful thing or beautiful story with Alex is that she has been an employee at one of our dealerships for
I didn't
almost
know
4
that.
years.
Nice.
So, she started off in a part-time capacity and was graduating school, and, we started talking about, is there opportunities in the marketing department for her? And this came to light. And so, we had some discussions with operations from a budget perspective, and we decided to go ahead with it. And it's probably been one of the best investments we've made in the last year.
So it's safe to say that you guys feel comfortable in saying that is a responsibility of the group level.
I think so.
Is because you got to develop out that brand, not only just the group level brand, but also the individual dealerships brands, and helping and assisting them to find those stories, find those voices, create that content, and put that out there.
Absolutely.
Now, a lot of people always end up asking me, how did you start, right? Because that's usually the hardest part, right? Is just how did you start? So you guys hired Alex 6 months ago,
Yep.
and Alex's first day was, what did that look like? I'm just kind of curious.
That was, so she was very familiar with one dealership.
Okay.
And, offhand knew some of the stores. So what I do for almost everyone who starts in the group here is day one, and unfortunately now day two, because we're bigger, is just spent visiting the different dealerships.
Sure.
Meeting all the people, introducing them, getting the dealerships to understand what this individual's role is going to look like, so that they're not caught off guard when, they reach out or they show up in the store and start shooting video, right? Like, who's this person? What's she doing? And that there's another whole discussion point is communication, proper communication. We're getting better. We still have a lot of room for improvement, but that first day is all about getting familiar and getting comfortable with the dealerships, walking through the front door and walking through into the back of the shop and meeting everybody. I want them to be so familiar, because Alex isn't just there to tell stories on the front of the house.
Yeah.
She's there to tell service stories, parts stories, body shop stories,
it's the stories
right?
of the dealerships. Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it is the one cool thing about being in our industry is that these dealerships are just content machines.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
so much stuff that we can talk about. It's just kind of ridiculous.
It's fantastic, right? And I mean, Alex, we know it takes people a long time to get comfortable with the role.
So how's
but
that 6 months kind of been?
what the funny thing is, man? She hit the ground running.
Yeah?
She hit the ground running. She has been fantastic. And one of the highlights, we actually had a kind of a big moment for us last December. We did our first corporate holiday party. So
I remember hearing stories about this.
we had to rent out like a whole convention center to bring in all of our people, because we wanted it to be a big night. We wanted to give back to our people.
Sure.
We really do. And so we didn't just invite them. We invited their significant others as well, so that they could be a part of the evening. And one of the highlights of the night, Alex and I worked and put together sort of a blooper reel of some of the footage, right? So, and I mean, like, you talk about probably one of the most popular people now in the dealerships, it's her. Because everybody knows her, everybody sees her.
Everyone's warmed up to
She's
her.
got
They're
like
embracing it. That's
exactly.
awesome.
She's got days and times where she's gonna be there. She knows more people in the group than I do now, right? and you know what? That's the way it should be.
Yeah, it should be.
Right? And it's with all due respect to everyone else in the team and anybody else around the office who can hear me right now, but she's been one of the best investments that we've made in easily the last couple of years.
Well, what I applaud you guys for is that you guys execute on it. You just did it. Everyone asks me, like, how do you start?
You just do it.
You just, right?
You just do it.
You just do it.
And
knowing that it's going to get better, and there's going to be version 1 and there'll be version 25.
Exactly, right? Like, we were just talking about, you're a little bit of gearheads, right? So we like our technology tools, and
we like voice, yes.
we do, right? We just realized that we had to elevate our audio in the video. So we went out and bought, a wireless lav mic, so that, she wasn't connected by a physical cord to the camera, to the subject, because we all know what it's like when you record video with just the iPhone.
Yeah, audio is a big deal.
Huge deal, right?
I do tell everybody that when you are going to get started, look, the consumer's okay with maybe some dim lighting and maybe even sometimes a shaky hand, but if they can't hear really clear the words that are coming out of your mouth,
super important.
They're just right on to the next one.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, again, Alex, tons of social media experience, being from sort of that generation that's just totally immersed in it. But we had to sort of break it down and start talking about some of the fundamentals. And there's definitely, and her and I talk about it, but there's room for improvement from a quality and a technical standpoint still, because again, it's composition, it's lighting, it's audio.
Yeah.
Right. If you those are sort of the three legs to the tripod when it comes to making video content.
Yeah.
So there's some room there. We're kicking around the idea of upgrading the actual video next. Are we looking at like a mirrorless body, something to really kind of elevate the quality beyond the the iPhone that she's using right now primarily.
And I think that's actually a fair thing to point out right now.
Yep.
Is that she started
with an iPhone.
Yep. All right. We're not talking this huge, ridiculous monster investment.
Nope.
It was literally, hey, grab your phone. I'm going to talk straight to it. And that was the first.
That was it.
That was the first video.
That was it, right? And it's so important. And again, the benefit of being on the group level is that it's content. Everybody's been saying it for years. Content's king, right? And the problem
quality
again,
content's
quality
king.
content's
Content's king.
But with all the different hats that we're asking our people in the dealerships to wear, they can't do it in a consistent basis.
Yeah, I agree.
There's some exceptions in the automotive world right now where some people are just killing it, but not everybody's as passionate about it.
Yep.
So we were able to give our groups that consistency and that that content and that quality and the ability to tell stories that they see fit. Some of the stores have they've really started developing their own voice and their own story, and
I love watching how these narratives are evolving.
Yeah.
I've seen one of the dealerships start to kind of make more of like a weekly type episode kind of a piece, we're putting that together. So look, I think the bottom line for a lot of people out there that just haven't started yet is you just got to start, and you're going to work through it. It's, I think we sometimes overthink it, and we'll spend more time just thinking and talking and less time doing. We had a big corporate discussion here in our training center where we brought in all of our general managers, our sales managers, and we said that we don't have an idea problem. We've got tons of ideas in automotive, you guys do.
Right?
Great ones too.
Great ideas. We have an execution problem, and that's where we always seem to fall short. And I'm just as guilty of it. We've traveled to some conferences over the last couple of years, and you just come back with a notebook full of ideas. And it's our inability to execute on all of them that really kind of hold us back. So how do we get better at that? And identifying that there's a problem is usually the first step. So we've been looking at some different change management models and processes and task management, and just looking at different ways to make sure that we're not losing focus of what's most important to us.
And I'm sure you probably agree with this. You feel comfortable that that's kind of a group level responsibility, right? So again, when we're talking about difference between responsibilities that the group has and responsibility the dealership has, that execution portion on a lot of these great ideas for you guys seems like it kind of falls at the group level.
Absolutely.
And I think that's fair. I think it's
it's
totally
absolutely
cool.
fair, right? Like we know that there's a lot of different types of groups out there.
Yep.
There's some groups that have a different style than what we have. We realize that our role here at corporate is more to provide the support and the structure so that our stores can be successful.
Yep.
Not to point out what's wrong, but we can identify opportunities, as we like to say, and we can provide solutions to hopefully solve those problems and elevate the stores and help them do better. I say it to all my people. I've said it for a long time. I don't want you coming to me with just problems. You can come to me with the problem, but only if you come to me with a potential solution as well. So
I love what you guys are doing on the marketing side. I love that you guys are out there actively pursuing and hunting and searching for these treasures of stories that exist at each one of the dealerships. And you guys' execution of that socially is just where it was 6 months ago, where it is now, and where it's going to be in the next 12 months. I'm super excited to watch, right?
Me too.
Now, on the operations side, from a group level responsibility, tell me a bit more about how this huge commitment to coaching and developing the staff came about.
I think it came from where a lot of our great ideas in the industry come from. It's from a lot of the conferences we go to, but really, I think for us, we're corporately here, especially in some of the executives, we're just avid readers, consuming anywhere from, my goal for 2018 was read 25 books throughout the course of the year. And I did it. I like
That's
it was
cool.
like it was New Year's Eve, and I finished that last book, right? And thank you, Audible, because it's one of the only ways that I was able to actually kind of tackle that. But
I can't read. I can only listen. I just can't do it.
But I wanted it to, and then this year it's going to be an evolution where it's a blend of, I want to make sure I'm actually physically reading,
Yes,
versus Audible, because I feel like there's at least everybody has to know what their learning style is, and I
Sure, 100%.
digest in different ways. So before I digress any further, it came from reading a book.
Yeah.
It did. And it was one of two books, but the one that really kind of drove it home for us was, it was a novel by Isidore Sharp. It was his own autobiography, and he was the creator of Four Seasons,
Okay.
Four Seasons hotel chain. And they just spoke to the importance of training.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody knows what they have to do. Everybody's empowered because they know what they have to do.
Yeah.
And then there's just there's a cohesion, and there's a buy-in. And
you get this crazy thing called culture when that kind of all comes together, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we don't really have that. I mean, some of the stores will occasionally ad hoc invest in training here or there, but nothing can
It's
on
spotty.
a
It's just
consistent
kind of
basis, right? And again, corporate, all my years at Deloitte, every single person who starts at that firm starts day one. If it doesn't matter if you're a male clerk or if you're a partner, you start and you attend new hire orientation.
Oh, wow.
New employees only start Monday, and they're there for new hire orientation. It's 2 days, and they go through everything that you need to know to just do the basics of your job.
Yep.
From your email, from your process standpoint, from security, how you get in and out of the building, like everything, right? So we realized that we're, again, hiring a whole other podcast, but that we need to make sure that our people who start know how we want them to do business.
For sure. That way you guys, I believe, have also kind of taken on the responsibility of what the user experience is going to be at each one of your guys' locations. And for you to do that, you have to develop and train and coach your staff to exactly what those processes are going to be.
Absolutely.
So it's a big, gigantic room. You've been here for 6 months. How's that kind of gone? I'm just, for a lot of people that have thought, that are kind of in your guys' case, I'm thinking of the people out there that are listening right now that were you guys a year ago, and just kind of got started with this. What does kind of the last 6 months look like for you guys in that development portion?
I mean, it's been an evolution.
Yeah.
It's definitely been an evolution. And we've realized that we have to almost treat this like we're starting a school.
Okay.
So, and we've had to build out content.
Yep.
We've had to put together the schedule, the syllabus. We've had to put together what the entire class is going to look like. And we've gotten to the point now where again, we know that automotive can be very, very difficult to schedule. From meetings to appointments to whatever you want to say. So, we realized that we couldn't just run a Monday to Friday, 9 to 1 or whatever. We had to give people the ability to come and do the training on a more flexible schedule.
Okay.
So we've essentially broken it down into, in order to get this certification, in order to be drive certified.
I like that. That's great.
You have to get this many credits.
Okay.
And that's all that's entailed. So, again, for our people who've been with us for a long time or have just been with us for a couple of years, they're coming in and they're doing this training for the first time, and they might attend 2 classes on week 1, and maybe they can't attend any on week 2, but they have the ability to do introduction 101.
Okay, so
and then
you're always kind of
introduction
consistently
102
running
and
them so
introduction 103,
Gotcha.
and you've got to get these credits in order to complete the course. So we realize that this is kind of the way that it's gonna, and it might take some people longer to get through the program than others, but our ultimate end goal is that before you can speak to a customer, you're gonna have to be drive certified in order to do so, because that way we know that you're able to handle the customer the way that we need you to handle the customer in order to deliver the experience that Drive Auto Group wants to deliver.
It totally makes sense. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we have to develop out what these processes are. The processes are designed with the intention of creating an experience.
Yep.
If we can't train consistently across the board and have everybody participate in the same process, then measuring the effectiveness of that process will never give us the ability to continue to develop out and make even better processes.
Absolutely.
Right? So I'm curious, this syllabus, like what are some of the courses? What are some of the courses? I'm curious.
So again, we're the primary focus right now is on our sales
Okay, cool.
staff, our service advisors, and our managers.
Okay.
And when I say managers, I mean everybody from sales managers, service managers, general managers.
Cool.
Because that's a whole other area that we believe there's a lot of room for training there.
It's a great place to spend some time in because we all know that everything trickles down. So
Absolutely. Top down.
Training and developing from the top is just really going to support everything downwards.
And when I mentioned that it's been an evolution, that's what we've realized. We started out where we wanted to train all of our sales associates.
Sure.
And we realized though that if we trained them up to the best that we wanted or needed, and then we put them back in the store, we realized that the managers had no idea what we were training them on or how to manage that. And so again, it's a holistic approach. It has to be in order for it to succeed. And that's why this training has to happen sort of concurrently. We can't just, do it all at one time. And we want this to, we want to do it right. But at the same point, we need to do it fast as well. We can't have this be something that takes 2 years to fully mature. We need this to get off the ground as quickly as we can.
So I'm curious, for let's say a salesperson, how long would it take typically for a salesperson to become Drive certified?
So
how many different courses is it kind of lined up there?
I don't want to give away too many trade secrets here, but let me break it down into two different ways, right? So there's two approaches that we've taken to this.
Okay.
One is a new hire.
Okay.
And with the new hires, we typically see two types of individuals that we're bringing into our organization at this point. One is the experienced salesperson who's maybe been selling cars for 5 years, 10 years, 40 years, whatever it might be. We still need them to understand the way that we do business. So every single new sales associate that gets hired within the group comes and spends anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks here in business development at our corporate office, and they're attending training. They're learning what it means to be working in an activity-based culture, because we can't just come and turn on the lights and fog up the window and get what we get. We have to generate business. And we want that same attitude to get down to the sales floor as well. So managing their own portfolio of business, realizing that they're an entrepreneur, and there's a lot of other pieces that kind of fall into this. But again, experienced or new individual, the amount of time they spend in that new hire onboarding process is dependent on their existing skill set. Some of them can move through the training faster than others, but it's understanding, again, activity, it's understanding scripting, tonality, and bringing emotion into your voice, and not just reading the script like this and hi, how are you? We need to bring emotion into what we do. And I mean, it's something that can be really difficult when you're doing the same thing multiple times throughout the course of the day. But as I tell all of my business development reps, you might be making your 100th call of the day, but the person that's picking up on the other line is picking up for the first time. And they need to think that it's the first call that you've made. So that attitude has to happen, or has to permeate down through the sales team as well. So they run through everything, the same type of training that business development does, but then they get into specifics. So what does a proper introduction look like? Down to where you greet them, eye contact, tonality, and scripted. We want almost every single piece of the interaction to be running off of a script.
Sure.
And for everyone out there who really doesn't like scripts,
well, what you're doing is you're standardizing. I imagine you're still giving them some space to find their voice,
a little bit,
and their tonality, and their
a little bit
approach to it.
Yeah.
But you do have to, if you're going to effectively measure the effectiveness of your process, you're gonna have to standardize it.
Absolutely.
You're just gonna have to.
Absolutely.
There's just no other way of doing it.
Well, from a management perspective, if everybody's doing something differently, you can't accurately compare results.
No, not at all.
I hate the saying, but you're comparing apples to oranges.
Yes.
They're both fruit. Why can't you compare them? But they have to be doing it sort of the same way. And again, and I say this to people in the interview, is that we are 100% a scripting department in our business development team. You have to use the scripts. There's no questions asked. But don't think of it as something that's bad. I like to think of it as it's like a movie script.
Yeah.
That's meant to be performed.
Yes.
Not read.
And every performance, no matter the script, everyone's going to perform that script slightly different.
Slightly different, but the wording's very important.
Yes.
Right. And again, I like to make sort of the analogy that, like, if you're an Oscar-winning screenwriter, like, you got that trophy on the mantle, man. So that means you know the right way to put words together to deliver the message that you want to. And that's not to say that maybe you're open to a little change here and there.
Sure.
But there's usually a very specific reason why things are said in a specific order. And sometimes just changing the structure of a sentence or removing one part of the sentence can have a big effect on the message that gets conveyed. So yes, I get that we want people to be able to grow into their own message. In the very beginning, it's very important for them to just internalize that script.
Of course.
So introduction, greeting, information gathering. We want the customers to understand that we want them to just find the right vehicle. Mm-hmm. Data, we love throwing facts and figures in this business. So, how many people that come in to buy a Civic end up buying a Pilot, or that come in wanting to buy a Pilot and end up buying an Accord, right? Like, don't just assume because the customer's coming in looking at something that's the only thing that they, or maybe it's more accurate to say the thing that they actually need.
For sure.
So
you have to have a conversation.
You have to have a conversation with them.
You actually have to be social. Whoa.
Absolutely, right? And I think, with all due respect, we love to say this here in corporate. It's so easy to say some of these things without being there in the store.
Yeah.
Easy said than easier done. But I think the internet has made things really easy for the dealerships over the last 5 years to 10 years.
Sure.
Right? The customers come in now, they know, I want that used Civic. And it was either, there it is, or, sorry, it's sold.
Yep.
And I think we've lost a little bit of that salesmanship, that ability to have the conversation, build relationships, and
we'll tell a story.
Story.
Literally, order takers is the
Absolutely.
term that gets used a
Absolutely.
lot. Is that they're not trained or coached or developed, to actually value into
Yep.
something, right? And the consumers buy a story before they buy the product. But if there was never a story ever presented, then the only thing they have to go off of is the product and the price, and that can make things increasingly difficult.
Absolutely. And I think that, again, it is not saying anything bad, because just naturally we're going to take the path of least resistance.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's
right?
normal. It's just the way we are.
And I think it didn't something that necessarily happened overnight, but it definitely happened at one particular point. So we just want to make sure that they're treating the customers the way that the customer kind of wants to be treated.
Yep.
I mean, again, here's a whole other podcast, is customers'
Doing it for the
expectations.
customer? Yeah, no.
Customers' expectations coming into a dealership. I don't walk into McDonald's and say, let's negotiate on the price of the coffee.
No.
But we have this. There's this expectation out there that they can negotiate on the price of a vehicle. Meanwhile, not knowing that our margins are so small right now.
It's not like what it used to be.
It's not like
we don't actually control the profitability of vehicles anymore. The manufacturers control the profitability
Absolutely.
of the vehicles.
On the new car side specifically.
Used a little bit, but even then,
but used is now,
with technology and information, it is not what it used to be.
No. And the internet drives our business. And if you're not priced in that top 10 block, you're not going to get the same amount of interest on the vehicle as you used to be. So the price of the car is the price of the car. You can't, just because you bought the car for whatever 10 doesn't mean you can sell it for 15 or 13.
Yeah.
Maybe you bought it for 10, but the market says the car is going to sell for 9.
Exactly.
That nothing's going to change. If you try to put it up for 13, it's probably just going to sit there for 365 days, and hopefully that it's been there for 365. There's a whole other discussion. But again, we have to make sure that our people are handling customers the best way that they can. And I know that I want to have our customers have the best experience when they come to our dealerships.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again,
and that's going to that's the responsibility that you guys have taken ownership of. All right, that you're going to ensure that this experience, as good as bad it's going to be, is ultimately going to be the responsibility of us at the group level.
Well, marketing, one of the big responsibilities for us is responding to all these online reviews.
Yes.
So yeah, I want it to be the best possible experience. So we're thanking the 5-star customers.
And you guys are real close to that, so
exactly. Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, look, the group level, I love it. What the responsibility at the marketing level or at the marketing department, what the group level's responsibility is at developing out and creating and maintaining that experience through the training and coaching of the staff. And now let's talk about hiring, because I think there's just been a fundamental shift in the last few years, because I don't think it's been long, it's just probably in the last few years, of what we're really looking for, in hiring. And now, since you guys have kind of defined out what that marketing experience is going to be, what that in-dealership experience is going to be, I imagine that now what you're hiring for is just way different than what you guys were looking for in the past.
Absolutely. And I mean, we're looking to evolve the entire role, which is what is going to change the sort of the demand for the specific types of individuals. Again, you go back maybe not even 2 years, and you needed a new salesperson. What did you do? You went on to TADA and you put up a job ad.
Yeah.
Everybody was fishing in that same pool, and when you fish in the same pool, you're going to get the same fish.
Exactly.
Right? And we realized that we needed to sort of cast a wider net. And attract different types of individuals. So we're doing everything now from attending job fairs at schools to speaking at different universities and colleges about what it's like to work in automotive. Inform them, and not just at Georgian College with their automotive school of business, which we're doing as well, but we're attending Durham College and UOIT, and we're going to University of Toronto, and we're attending as many of these different areas to try and just if we can just get 1 or 2 people out of these sessions, that even if it's in 2 years, that they want to come into automotive. It's a great industry to work in. It really is.
It is, and unfortunately, there is some stigma about the industry. There's a ton of stigma, but things have changed a lot. I remember, and I know I've told this story a few times, but 12 years ago, a gentleman came to work at one of the dealerships I was working at, and I come to find out that he actually received almost a $10,000 signing bonus for leaving his existing dealership and coming over here. Now, this gentleman sold a lot of cars, 700-800 units a year just on himself. I mean, had an assistant or 2, just sold a lot of cars, right? But that was back then, was because of their sales ability. Back then, customers went to 7 dealerships before they made a purchase. Yeah, they're not the 1 point. What does Google say? 1.4.
Yeah, anywhere from it. I've heard as low as like.
Let's call it 2.
Exactly. Right? Yeah,
let's say they go to 2 dealerships, right? So it's different now. It's not. It's not so much. I find, and I'm curious what your thoughts are, that it's more about branding than it is about their ability to sell, because you can teach. You have a huge room, huge department to do that. You can teach and coach and develop someone to sell, but to know how to brand themselves and how to have that personality and that passion, that kind of just, you got to look for that, you got to hire for that.
And I think the natural, it's funny, I wouldn't have chose the term branding, but they have to sell themselves. Yeah. Right? And they have to do it in person. Because I think that's the most important. Because what we've done now is we've kind of taken back all the internet leads, right? They all funnel through our business development team. You don't have to be this charming person on the phone or on the interview, in an email, because we look after that here in business development. You just have to be your best version of yourself when the person gets into the store. Yes. And again, that comes through the training that we're running here. But the individuals we're looking for now, we just need somebody who's can kind of come across as an expert, be a person of influence, and be sharp as a tack, and we don't necessarily need that guy who's sold 800 cars. No. Unless that individual, there's a whole other discussion around relationship-based selling. Yes. But no, we just need somebody who's able to execute on the plan that we've given them, because we give you the plan.
You need someone that's got some energy and excitement in there, and that passion becomes infectious. So it's like, I feel like this is how we have to kind of hire, and is this kind of what you guys are now looking for?
It absolutely is, right? And we're, again, I think I had the benefit of having a really amazing manager and support structure in my time at Deloitte that taught me really what the best things to kind of look for when you're interviewing and when you're hiring, because it's not about the questions that you ask. It's not the answer that they give you. It's how they answer it.
Oh, okay. Can you elaborate a little bit on? So what are some of the questions? That makes sense a lot. Like, it's not necessarily what they say. It's kind of the method or how they're saying it.
Well, you're looking for You're looking for somebody who's able to sort of articulate a story.
Okay.
And like I tell everybody before we begin the interview-based questions in the interview is I tell them that I want you to pull from actual experience.
There you go.
Don't just tell me what Google or LinkedIn or Workopolis tells you to answer these interview questions. Because I tell you, I pull, and it changes from time to time, but I pull my interview questions from there. Because I want them to answer them, but I want them to answer them their way. And you'd be surprised the struggle. And I'll tell them, I'll say to them straight up, give me a real world example. And if that means you have to sit there for 60 seconds or 2 minutes to think of something, I'd rather you do that than either make something up or tell me what you think I want to hear. Because I know.
Yeah.
In the last year alone, we've probably done anywhere from 100 to 200 interviews for our business development team.
I imagine the amount of stories you heard.
Right? Tons.
I heard
Tons of them. So
just curious, any one of them stick out? Is there maybe a handful?
Ones that I can tell.
Ones you can tell.
I love the question. Let me see if I can remember the phrasing. But I love the question where you're asking them, what types of individuals don't you like to work with?
Okay, that's a good one.
Right, it's a good one, right? And I mean, I've had some answers, and I mean, I'm not going to repeat the actual one, but I've had one where I'm like, no, that's it. It's over. And I've had some other interviews where some interviews will run 90 minutes. I've cut off interviews in 15 minutes if I absolutely know it's not going to be a fit. Yeah. So yeah, I've heard a lot of different answers and different responses, but it's really funny. I love interviewing. I think it's great getting to meet a bunch of people and try to formulate an opinion on a person in 60 minutes or less. And again, it's the looking for the honest answers. So I'll ask I'll ask them questions about, what are your 5-year or 10-year plans? Especially in business development, where it's an entry-level role. Yep. Not everybody who applies for our position is looking for a lifetime career in automotive. And one of the newer questions that I started asking is, what if you walked out of here and you went and you scanned your lottery ticket and you won $10 million? What would you do? And
you probably get some good responses to that one.
You get some good responses, right? But it's funny, the most common response I get from people is, oh yeah, no, I'd still come back and work here. Meanwhile, we just had a whole discussion about how you want to start your own fashion line.
Travel the world,
right? But you're telling me that you'd come and you'd work in a business development team? No, I'm looking for the authentic answer, which would be, you know what, I'd go back to school, or I would take that and invest it into my own business and try to start my own enterprise, because that's a more authentic answer. And again, I totally credit this to my previous boss, because I made a personal referral. One of my best friends, I was best man at this guy's wedding, and I referred him for a position there. And he came into the interview, and he said to my old manager, he said that, oh yeah, in 5 years, I actually want to be doing this at this different company. And yeah, when I heard it, I had this, I'm like, oh my God, what did you do?
I just referred you for this job. What are you saying?
But he got the job because
he real.
Answered the question in an honest fashion.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking for, is the honest answer from an individual. Obviously, honesty goes so far, but
well, it's the honesty, but also the way that they're giving you and how they're executing on that answer.
Absolutely.
It's their tonality. It's the passion. Are they leaning back in the chair? Are they leaning into you?
Yep.
When they talk, right? I think what it is and it sounds like it is that you're hiring storytellers and their ability to tell a story.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's also a bunch of little things as well, right? Again, and this is like corporate stuff probably, but you got to show up with a copy of your resume.
Yeah.
You should be bringing some type of paper and pen to write on and take notes. You should probably have some questions. You should have done some research on the company. How you dressed appropriately for the role. I don't care if it's winter, do you still have your jacket on and your hoodie?
That one finds me out. I'm always amazed by that one. I just dumbfounded. People show up for an interview. I'm like,
you're dressed in a hoodie? It looks like you haven't shaved in a week and a half. Like it's, yes, entry level, but again, you dress for the job you want, not the job that you have. And I'm kind of weird. I'm tricky, and I'll sit there and on purpose, I won't bring a copy of their resume so that I get to ask them, I'm sorry, I forgot, do you have a copy of your resume?
Yeah.
So I want to know, are they prepared? Do they actually
May have
care
just
about
written
this
a really
role?
good resume.
Right? Yeah. So again, it's a whole bunch of little things that people, again, I had the benefit of learning from somebody who had done it a lot.
Yeah.
And he had that same benefit. And, I think a lot of automotive interviews are just kind of usually, two people going into an office and shooting the breeze, talking about, old car stories, and I know that guy, and I know this guy, and that's great, awesome, when can you start? And it's not any type of true reflection on the individual, what they believe in, and I mean, then you get into doing proper reference and background checks on individuals. When you're hiring from that same pool, or you're hiring somebody who's already employed, how do you do a background check?
Yeah.
We know it's a small world, right? The second you call,
it is. It really
you
doesn't
call
take much.
Jim at the other Honda store and ask him about, John, it gets around real quick,
Let me tell you a
right?
story.
Well, yeah, or that, but then I also want to respect the privacy of the individual. So if they're still working at a dealership, it's tough to do a
That's
background
tough. That is
check,
real
right?
tough. Yep.
But at the same point, you need to know who you're hiring.
Yep.
We have to solve that turnover problem, or at least try to minimize it as much as we possibly can. And you only do that by hopefully hiring the right people, by training them, and giving them all the tools they need to succeed. Because ultimately, if the person that you hire doesn't make it to 90 days or they quit after 6 months, it's most likely a reflection that you either picked the wrong person or you didn't do a good enough job in setting them up and training them.
Yeah.
So, people need to really kind of look in the mirror when you have a turnover problem. You're either not hiring properly or you're not training properly.
Well, and the cool thing is what you guys are doing at the group level as far as developing and controlling that marketing message and those stories, developing out what that experience is going to be. The next evolution is just really kind of developing out the hiring, because you know what you're hiring for. You know what you're trying to achieve over here in the marketing department and the stories that you're trying to put out there. Mm-hmm. You know what you're trying to achieve as far as what that in-dealership experience is. I mean, you guys just now kind of developing and controlling that hiring practice for all those locations.
Yep.
It's got to be a beautiful thing. So,
and one of the other big pieces as well is that we've realized that not everybody, or maybe more importantly, not the types of individuals we want to attract, are looking for commission-based roles.
Sure.
Or at least heavily percentage commission-based roles.
What's this interesting? Are you guys thinking about changing it?
Thinking.
Or have you?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't aware.
Yeah, no, we've started the process. Again, it's going to be a process.
Of
It's going
course.
to be an evolution.
Of course.
But, not everybody who's looking for a professional career wants that. Some of them want the stability of a salary.
I love it. I'm all for it.
Yeah,
I did it in my own dealership when I had my own dealership, and that was years ago, and I got crud for it then. It's just, look, I like you have an expectation of what this role consists of. And I don't think it's necessarily fair that commission is in line with what those expectations are, because my expectations were pretty high. So for me, it was really straightforward. It made sense. Like, I have high expectations. I have a lot of processes, a lot of roles. This is what I need them to do. I mean, for me to come out and ask them, I had to present them. I had to create some level of a salary to do so.
Absolutely.
And then I don't know, how are you guys doing it? I rewarded my staff on their volume, not necessarily their profitability, in addition to their salary. What are you guys doing?
We're going a bit of a different route, because we believe, much like the business development model, for our sales staff, it's more about the amount of activity that you do.
100%.
The amount of activity you do, provided you're doing it the right way,
Yes.
will predicate your results. And that's how we've started structuring our pay plans. So
that's cool.
it's not about the volume of cars that they sell.
Okay.
It's not about the amount of money that they gross on those deals.
Yep.
Because we believe that, again, that's just a manageable part of their job.
It's not necessarily their manageable part. It really should be managed.
Oh, it is, right? And that's what I mean.
So I think
it's
it makes
manageable,
total sense.
right?
Yeah, totally sense.
And our pay plans are paid and structured that way. So
Wow.
we want them to understand that that's how they're going to be successful.
Okay.
And we're not talking with the salary role about changing the average compensation. We're just talking about more so keeping it in that same range, but structuring it in such a way that we can now set some expectations for the role, because you're getting paid a salary. The way we look at a salary is that we're just kind of almost prepaying you your bonus in a salary form.
It's really what it is. It's what it is, 100%. You're going to pay them anyways, right?
But in order to get that, you have to do this, and this. That's our minimum expectation. Again, just like somebody who starts at McDonald's or any other role, from working at a fast food restaurant all the way up into corporate. When you have a salary, that just means that you are now expected to do your job and deliver on 100%. Certain expectations. So 100%. we make sure that these expectations are clearly defined from from hiring all the way through, and they know exactly what is expected of them every single day. And it's not about doing a deal a day. That will come just from doing the activities.
Doing the activities, exactly. It's not just about what the sale is, the byproduct of the activities that we put into it. So you're going straight salary then, eh?
Not straight.
Okay. So there's a incremental level for based on what exactly?
There are bonuses and commissions that are paid out based on activity that they do.
What would be one example? Just curious.
One example would be what we consider to be an activity, which would be either a phone call, an email, or a text. Okay. And they have goals and they have targets that they have to hit in order to get those additional bonuses. So is it progressive? I don't really know. I think it's just a reshaping of the way that we're paying. It's not.
I think it totally makes sense. It's in line with what your guys' goal and objectives are, right? We know that the sales are a byproduct of these activities happening. All right, so as long as I create that pay structure that encourages these activities are being done on a very regular basis, and almost to the point where it's religion. Yeah. And it kind of has to be, right? Yeah. We know that the result is going to be here, so it maintains a consistency of those activities totally across the board. So I think it's badass. I think it's actually pretty cool.
So the role is such now where at the end of every single day, and again, this is old school in a sense. Yeah. That here's my day, Mr. Sales Manager. I've done so many phone calls, emails, text messages, spoke to this many people, booked this many appointments, and I sold one car. But this is my day, and the manager has to sign off on it.
On the activities.
Yeah.
The results are just the byproduct of
and much like business development. Awesome. Much like business development, that those salespeople are actually managed to the hour throughout the course of the day. Yeah. So what are they pacing? How many have they done so far?
Well, that had to be another big part for you guys, right?
Absolutely.
Because if you don't have a way to measure it all, then none of it works, right?
Because what's the traditional way of measuring the success for a dealership in a day?
Well, in the past, it's just been sales. That's
sales, right? Yeah, exactly. How many races did you get today? Yep. Right. That's it. And that's not an actionable measure. No. I mean, there's outside of we're a next up group. Yep. We use that in every single one of our stores, and that gives us at least a little bit of a sort of an activity, but not the full measure. Because I believe that the success of the dealership is a little bit more tied to the amount of activities they've done in a day, not even necessarily the amount of people that showed up.
They're just inbound, outbound. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Absolutely. So, and we've also gotten away from sort of group level reporting. Okay. Previously at the end of every day, the report went out to all of the stores in the group as to which store sold how many, had how many ups, etc. But that it's not important for store A to know what store B did. It has no impact on store A's job at all. No. So just store A, focus on yourself. It's again like what I tell all my employees.
That's very proactive in itself. I know a lot of groups that unfortunately kind of like to put their dealerships against each other. Yep. And they do that through what you just stated.
And look,
just by putting those reports out.
That's still going to happen. That still has happened, right?
Healthy competition's okay.
Healthy competition is still okay, right? Like they all know, they all try to hold off on putting through their numbers at the end of the month to see if they can slide a couple of extra in there to be that number one store. But on the day to day, it's not important. It's really not. And again, it's an old school mentality, but at the end of the day, it's just about what you do in the course of the day that's going to predicate whether or not you're going to be successful. Yeah. And we're trying to attract these individuals that are just maybe they've never worked automotive in their life. Maybe they've never even worked sales in their life. Sure. but they are just looking for that job that gives them a little bit of freedom. And I think the real kind of cool thing right now that nobody really kind of talks about is that we're trying to sort of evolve and change that business right now.
Yeah.
So the people that come to work for us, they're going to be part of something that's pretty cool. It's pretty unique in the automotive sphere, and I think that's exciting. I think that's a really kind of cool thing, and it's for somebody who's been here from for 5 years now and seen that evolution. There's not too many people, again, outside of our control or our corporate. Our corporate controller and our dealer principal that have been here long enough to see that evolution. So it's really exciting.
I'm so excited to see where you guys have come in the last couple of years, where you guys are heading, and for people out there that are considering to get into the automotive industry, where can they go to learn a bit more about the Drive Group?
Well, you can visit our website at driveautogroup.ca. Visit us, obviously, on any one of our social media channels. But I'm always more than been willing to chat with anybody, talk to them about the industry. I love having discussions right now around the concept of price and everything, and the future of the business, and talking about expectations. I love that. So, if anybody wants to reach out to me, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or any one of the social channels. I'd be more than happy to discuss the business. And it's really, really exciting. I mean, just get so jazzed up, so excited.
I love what
thinking about the future.
So cool.
Yeah.
So, Adam, I really, really appreciate your time. I know you got to jet off to another meeting.
Yep.
Thank you so much, man.
Thanks,
for
Jason.
taking the time.
Appreciate it, man.
And meeting with me.
All the best.